Hi everyone, welcome back. Last session we were talking about the log. Still I have the box log file. Let me remove that. Okay, we have two terminals and we're going to work with inbound, and which is the most important part. And if we be able to understand this part correctly, almost we have understood most part of the functionality of Sandbox and other proxies like Sandbox, like X-Ray and V2Ray. So we are going to have, we'll take a look at the inbound part. So this is the inbound part. Okay, last session we were talking about log, now we are going to talk about inbound, which means it's an object. Actually, this is a list of object. Inbounds, we have an S here, array of object, and we define object which has type and tag. Okay, let's go to the first one, which is the direct one. So direct one means type is direct. It gives it somehow receives from the not receives, actually the type. How can I say this? The type is direct, which means it's the raw direct. I can say it in this way. It's a raw direct. It's just the TCP or whatever the level is, the layer is for the request is the same thing. It doesn't change anything. This is a better description. It doesn't change anything. It's the same thing. So correct me, please. If I am wrong, comment and tell me that what kind of type it is. It's the thing that doesn't change anything. It's just what it is. So, and then here's the structure. So let me copy this. This is the structure of the direct type. Okay, let me go back to the upper one. So we have, if you can remember, this is the log one. I'm going to add it to the log one. So or copy the log to inbound JSON. Okay, open it, and then we have the new object. Okay, and since we do not need this part and this part, so here is the thing that we have. Okay, and remove that. So we have a type and we have a tag. If we go back, it says the after this two object that we have, the listen field also is required, and shows here that this is the listen field that should be added here. I'm not sure why they separated this in two pages, not here, but this is what it does here. And then, I mean, after defining the type and tag, we have the listen field and listen port and bind and other things. So I'm going to copy not the object but here the whole thing. So, and then adding it here, and these are deprecated, and then doesn't have the let me a little bit clean up. So what we need, actually, this is the first part, which is the type, and then we have the del one, and we also do not need all of these. I'm going to remove all of these and then remove this trailing one. Okay, as I said, I mean, every time that we update a file, we need JQ to inbound, and it says it's wrong. In line 14, for example, column 1, we have a problem. So that's the reason I use JQ to parse, making sure this is a valid JSON file. And it seems like a valid JSON file, but actually it's not. If you look at it, look at this file, because I want to make sure you completely understand. We have a key here, and then we have the value, which is an object. And right now we do not have, we have an object here which doesn't have any key, and that's the problem. That's the reason that JSON complains about and gives error. If we go back to the inbound, let me go back to the inbound itself. We have inbounds and then an array. So, which means here we should define an object inbound and colon an array of object. Let me put it here, a little bit indentation. This is the correct format, actually. So this is the beginning and end, and this is the beginning and end, and if I check that this time, it's okay. But if I sandbox check the inbound, it says wrong. It's an unknown field. We already said unknown means the sandbox doesn't know about it. Either it's wrong, the definition, or it's not compatible. So we saw it that the inbound has s, which means array of inbound. So we fix that simply by saying inbound s. Check it. It says unable to parse the IP address, and the reason is we didn't define any IP address, which we can have it here. So one more time, it's okay, we can run it. So run it. Sandbox is listening on TCP and UDP both with this random port. Okay, so let me curl check this random port and see what happens, please. Did you see that? It's a loop, it's an infinite loop, and let me explain why. We have an inbound, it's a direct thing, and what is going to happen if I select it right? The connection comes from the inbound. Here's the inbound. The connection comes from the inbound, and then it goes to the outbound. Okay, which means there is an infinite loop between inbound and outbound, which also means that we should, or almost I can remember that I used the direct inbound. We should use an inbound that does something. I mean, acts as a server, as a client, not nothing. So the direct one does nothing here for me. So I go to the next inbound, which is the mixed one, and this is the most common one and most interesting one. Mixed inbound means it's a HTTP proxy and it's a SOX5 proxy at the same time, or it's a SOX proxy at the same time. So we go back to the inbound, we change the type direct to mixed in, and we change this to mixed in. Okay, now run it. Okay, it's on that port, and if I curl the same, it says end of file, which means the request is wrong, and it's much clearer here. We have the inbound, we have the mixed type, and the tag is mixed in inbound, and the connection goes to nothing, which means I don't know what to do with this request because it's a proxy. So let me change the request type to HTTP proxy, and I ask for, with curl I ask for my IP address, ip5.org. So basically it's an, right now, let me show it one more time. Clear, JQ inbound. It's an mixed type, which means HTTP and SOX5 proxy at the same time. Listening on this port and listening on this IP address, and the port is random. Sandbox becomes HTTP and SOX5 proxy server, and it's listening on that port. So we are going to send request to this port to see what happens. It worked, and you can remember we enabled debugging. Here's the debugging it shows. So it gives an IP address, which if we check this, it's my own IP address. I mean my machine IP address, public IP address. Okay, if we look at this, it says inbound mixin. It comes from this. It wants to connect to this one, this IP address that we provided, this domain name, and then it says output direct. But if we look at the configuration, we do not have any output. And here's the key. There is a default hidden or undefined output if we if we don't have, or if we do not define any outbound, the first one, which is we do not have it here, or the direct one, becomes a default one, and Sandbox is going to use that. So that's the reason. So let me check the SOX5. This is HTTP, by the way, and this is SOX5. So this had a very interesting point here, this configuration. This is a HTTPS, this is the HTTP and SOX5 server at the same time that does netting for us, which means what comes to this server, it nets the request to the host that is running on, which is my house, which is my machine, as you can see here. Which means right now we can run this, we can have this really basic minimal configuration and put it in a public IP address, and we have a SOX5 proxy and HTTP proxy, and it does nothing. I mean, we do not need to configure any IP table or firewall or something like that. It works perfectly and properly. Let's a little bit update the configuration. I put, for example, the port like 9090, whatever it is. Okay, 9090. So it's changed the port. Run it again. It's listening. It's going to listen on 9090. Change that because I want to have a fixed port, not a random one. 9090. So it's okay. We are just testing the functionality. So HTTP. That's okay. You can see the debug one. So I'm going to enable the info one. A little bit less verbose one. So info. You can see it just shows me the info one, not the debug one. I can change to trace or whatever it is. So inbound and then the mix one. Let's go back to the configuration. You can see we can define user here. Just copy it. We're going to update our inbound again. In inbound, in this type that we have in this object, let me make the object a little bit clear. Here is much more clear. We can have user. So comma, paste, not the forward one, so the user we have, and then here is the so we do not need this. So we have the user, username and password, and admin. Okay, so check inbound based on JSON format. It's okay. Let's check it with the symbol. So when we run that and it doesn't complain, which means that's okay. So right now I am asking this for giving me the configuration, for giving me the response of this reporting my IP address, and we see authentication failed, which means I have to provide the username and password that I provide here, which means admin. So going back, I can have it here like admin :admin @ it's going to work. Also it's going to work with SOX5, no problem. Or I can have the proxy user admin :admin. Well, it's the same thing. Okay, so basically again, JQ inbound, we have a SOX5 proxy server, we have a HTTP proxy server with username and password, which means if I add random password, like random password, for example 1212 to random password here, we can have it up and running on a public IP address and having the public HTTP and SOX. I'm going to change that, and also having this one. So delete past, so it's okay. JQ test the function, the parsing, it's okay. So for this session I think it's enough. I do not want to get the this session too long, and that's it. We have an inbound. We learned how to use an inbound, that is an array of object, and object has its own type. This is the mixed one, and mixed one means HTTP and SOX are at the same time. You can add the users. And right now, if we just have an inbound, a single inbound, and we do not define outbound or giving the direct outbound with the type outbound direct, then we can have a server. It's a proxy server right now, and it's going to be natted by the built-in functionality of Sandbox. So for next session, next video, we are going to test this on a real public IP address in order to have this functionality as a server. Can we somehow have this one, I mean see our IP address through this remote the proxy server or no? Thank you for watching. Let's go to next video.